Hi guys, welcome. Today we are going to look at growing potatoes. For this year, I am growing potatoes in 3 or so different ways, and so I'm experimenting with the method and with the time. So I'll show you the update on how they are doing, which for the most part is really, really well. And then we're going to go ahead and fertilize them to give them some extra nutrients. Potatoes are very, very heavy feeders, so we want to probably fertilize them every 2 to 3 weeks, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'd like to welcome you to my backyard Kentucky homestead. If you're new here, my name is Kim. I thank you for joining me, and let's get started. So this is my first experiment. Back in December and January, I had some potatoes I grew last year that were going to seed. They were starting to have really, really long eyes on them. So they were not edible. Potatoes actually get dangerous to eat when they get to that point. It's the same thing as when they are exposed to sunlight, they start getting green. It becomes very, very bad for your digestive system. It could actually make you sick. So these were going to seed and they were not edible anymore. So I had 3 options. I could throw them away, I could compost them, or I could put them outside and try to grow them. So my thought process was, if you can have a potato that you miss in the ground that overwinters and it volunteers the next year, why not try doing it intentionally? So that's what I did here. So I planted this 6.5 by 3.5 inch bed with the potatoes. It's a variety of potatoes I grew last year. Again, they were not usable, and they are just absolutely doing wonderful. They're flowering, and they'll be ready to harvest within a few weeks. Well, what we want to do is go ahead and give them some I'm going to use Hollytone because it is a natural, I'm going to use Hollytone because it's a balanced organic fertilizer. So anything that's close to a 5.55 is good. Home Depot had a really great price on a 27-pound bag of Hollytone, which is what I've been using. It's wonderful. We are also going to go ahead and add some bone meal. Potatoes need a lot of, any of your fruiting vegetables or tuber vegetables except for onions and garlic need quite a bit of bone meal as well. They need that phosphorus. So to keep the potatoes from developing scab, or at least try to, we're also going to add some soil acidifier to the soil. I did this when I planted them, and I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more now. We're going to go ahead and pull the foliage back so that we can get to the ground. And what you want to look for here, first we're going to move this mulch away. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and just remove it because they have grown up dense enough throughout to block the sun from getting directly to the soil. So pull the mulch out. Because what we need to do is get to the dirt, the soil directly, because the fertilizer needs to have direct contact with the dirt. Okay. Now, one thing you do want to look out for, potatoes have a tendency to grow very close to the surface. I'm not seeing any here, but if you do see some that are very close right up in this area, yeah, I'm not seeing any, but if you do see any potatoes breaking through the surface of the soil, you want to make sure that you cover those, or else they will turn green and will not be usable. So I have found 2 potatoes so far that are very, very close to the surface. So once I've fertilized, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that those are covered back up. So I have exposed a whole bunch of this bed here. And again, there are some potatoes over here that I'll have to recover. I'm going to go ahead and add a few handfuls of the Hollytone around where the plants are. Now, if you're using a synthetic fertilizer, you do want to be a little bit more careful with the amount you're using because those do have a tendency to be able to burn the plants. With an organic fertilizer, your numbers are so low that it's really, really hard to burn them. Okay, So next I'm going to use just a little bit of soil acidifier. This again is just to help prevent scab from developing. The final one is to add some bone meal. Do be careful when you're adding the powdered bone meal because it is very powdery and it flies away very easily, so be careful not to breathe it in. And then the final step is that we are just going to scratch this into the surface. Okay. And then we'll cover that back up. Okay, make sure that I've got some coverage on my potatoes that are showing through. Scratch that in well, because it needs the soil contact for it to start to be absorbed and processed for the plants to uptake. And we'll just put the cover back on. So one thing we do want to be careful with, potatoes are part of the nightshade family. So for this bed, once it turns over, once I'm able to harvest these, I don't want to put any tomatoes or peppers or anything else in the nightshade family like eggplant in this bed. I want to make sure I change my crop rotation. So I will be putting summer squash in here, probably zucchini and some yellow squash. So again, just be careful. Don't follow a nightshade with a nightshade because they have a lot of the same disease issues, and potatoes and tomatoes are very susceptible to those, to the soil-borne diseases. All right, so this is my second experiment with potatoes, and what it is succession planting. I don't have a good cold storage option, so I really did not want to have a huge load of potatoes coming out at once. So my thought was I'm going to try on the 20th of each month, at least through June, try to set up some bags with potatoes and see how they do. So I have Yukon Gold and Red Norland in these two rows. These were planted on March 20th. And this one is it's russet potatoes I planted on April 20th. I will be doing another succession planting on May 20th and also again on June 20th. We'll have to see how they do when the heat of the summer comes in. It may not work, but we're going to give it a try. So March 20th, April 20th, May 20th, and June 20th to come. So let's see how that works. I'm going to go ahead and fertilize these the very same way I did the bed, and also check for any growth, any potatoes that are coming up out of the soil. But you can see they've done a huge cover, really great, covering the soil with their own foliage. So I didn't even have to mulch these. So it worked really well. So if you are interested in planting potatoes, I did a video of planting these in the containers back in March. So I'll share that link below and above. So check that out. So the final experiment for me, it's a process and method for growing potatoes that has been around since the 1960s, is the Ruth Stout method, where basically you just put the potatoes on the ground, cover them with straw, keep them a little watered, and let them go. I planted these out a couple of weeks ago. There's not a whole lot to see yet. I planted these out about 2 weeks ago. They are growing underneath there. I do need to get some more straw. I do not have enough straw on top of them right now. With all of the rain we've had over the last few weeks, it has really just compacted the straw. So I do need to get a couple of more packages of that easy straw, because that's the easiest. It's the easiest for me to get. So I will be adding some more straw on top of these to give them some more protection. But I expect them to break through here very shortly. And let me show you the process I went through to plant. This is the site of our next potato experiment. Now, the Ruth Stout method has been around since the very early 60s, so this is not a new technique. It is very well proven that it works. I have not done it though, so we're going to give it a try. So on this side of the yard, I'm still working on putting this together. On the left side, I've got 4 beds that have winter squash, watermelon, more winter squash, and cantaloupe in it. And on the other side, next to the fence, I'm going to put a variety of winter squash pumpkins. And in this taller bed here, this is one of the ones I got really cheap. I have my Connecticut field pumpkins in it, some leeks, and also some Virginia peanuts that haven't come up yet. So what I'm going to do, just to give this a little bit of boost, this was an area that just had weeds in it. I did use a hula hoe to pull as much of that out as I could. I'm going to add some granulated hollytone fertilizer just to give it a little boost. I'm just going to broadcast that. So next I'm going to broadcast some bone meal. And you want to be very careful with this because it's going to powder up everywhere. So I'm going to hold my breath. And then just to scratch it in a little bit, I'm going to use the hula hoe. This is the hula hoe. You can link it down below, and it's from Amazon. It was not too expensive. I'm just going to scratch it in a little bit. So I have a box of russet potatoes. These are organic potatoes I got from Azure Standard. They sprouted before I could use them. So we're going to spread these around here and just see if we can get some potatoes. So in all likelihood, as with most things I do, I've probably overseeded this. But we'll see. I've not done this before, and this is a very rocky area of ground, so I'm not sure how they'll do. So there we have it. What you want is between 6 and 8 inches of straw on top. And then the last step is just to go ahead and water this in. So I will provide an update later on the season, let you know how it's doing. So if you are interested in growing potatoes, give it a try. I did a video back in March when I planted these grow bags up. It's really, really very easy, and it's like digging for gold when it comes to harvest time. So it's really exciting to see what you're going to find, because you just don't know. A lot of times you are just overly surprised because of the abundance of the harvest. I had really great luck last year. We'll definitely keep doing that from year to year. So check out that video. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing, join me on my journey, and keep an eye on how these potatoes are doing. I will share with you when I harvest them and keep you updated. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a very wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.